The big stock to watch this morning, it's NVIDIA, and it's a big win for its business in China. You see shares are up over 4.5%. Let's get right to our Eunice Yoon, live in Beijing. Eunice, good morning.
Thanks so much, Frank. Well, as you said, this is a big win for NVIDIA, and from China's perspective, a big win for China. The NVIDIA chief, Jensen Huang, is here in Beijing for a supply chain expo, and today he was speaking to the state broadcaster CCTV and kind of expanding more on some of the new China-related announcements. He said that the U.S. has approved NVIDIA's export license for the banned H20 chip to China, so he said that sales would resume soon. He also said that there is going to be a new graphics card specifically designed for China called the RTX Pro. So this trip comes after a meeting with President Trump at the White House, and these U.S. approvals would be a reversal of U.S. policy and restrictions on the H20 chip. This is an AI chip that was specifically designed for China to comply with U.S. export controls, but then was later, the export of that chip was later banned. Chinese businesses have been welcoming these developments, saying that this is, of course, a good thing for U.S.-China ties. The CEO has been meeting Chinese officials as well as clients, Chinese business leaders such as Xiaomi, the smartphone maker, and he also is going to be attending the opening ceremony of a supply chain expo on Wednesday. In addition to that, Frank, he is going to be holding a press conference on Wednesday, so all eyes on that.
Certainly all eyes on that. Right now in the pre-market, again, all eyes on NVIDIA. Shares up 4.5%, the biggest leader in the S&P. Eunice, I want to go back to this meeting that Jensen Huang had with Chinese leaders. So Jensen Huang's been adamant that these chips won't be used by the Chinese military to advance Chinese military technology. But who in China really wants these chips? I remember back in February, Xi Jinping, he met with Chinese tech leaders and told them to show their talents. So are they willing to buy these chips from NVIDIA, or are they more focused on building up their own domestic tech?
I think both. We've already been hearing that from different businesses that they are interested in buying more H20 chips, that they see this as an opening for them because NVIDIA's chips are so advanced and are seen as so important. We could see that in the meetings that he's been having with clients. At the same time, one of his arguments has been that if NVIDIA were to withdraw from China, that just leaves a door open for China to continue to push its own domestic chips, such as Huawei's chips. So, of course, there is an element, of course, a policy that Xi Jinping has had that he does want Chinese companies to support homegrown chips as well as other technology. But at the same time, NVIDIA's chips are so advanced, so you could imagine that companies want to embrace both.
Why don't we start with the big market story this morning? NVIDIA shares moving higher again on that news that they can sell their H20 chips in China. What does that say to you about the broader tech sector, the fact that we're seeing other chip stocks move higher on that news as well?
Well, I mean, I think it says that we have more room to run on this trade, on the AI trade overall, but probably still actually a little bit more in the semiconductor trade, more than we actually thought that we were going to coming in this morning before this announcement. We thought we were going to be moving on towards more of a broadening of the AI theme, but we may get a resurgence of more of the infrastructure part of the AI theme here for a little bit.
Yeah, we had to hit on that again. NVIDIA, the biggest leader in the S&P in the pre-market, shares up about 4.5% right now. Morning, NVIDIA says it's looking to resume sales of its China-specific H20 AI chip in a major win for the company's business prospects in the world's second largest economy. Taking a look at shares of NVIDIA, they're up just about 5% right now, I believe hitting their highs of this morning. In a statement overnight, NVIDIA said, quote, the U.S. government has assured NVIDIA that licenses will be granted. NVIDIA hopes to start deliveries soon, end quote. The announcement from NVIDIA, just the latest in what's been a busy few days in the AI sector, featuring talent wars, multi-billion-dollar acquisitions, and major strategy shifts. Joining me now on this and much more, Deepak Singh, Vice President at Amazon Web Services. Good morning. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning.
First, I just want to start off with this news, the idea of NVIDIA, again, selling those H20 chips into China. We've had Dan Ives from Wedbush on. He says the demand for NVIDIA chips in general, I know you guys don't buy those H20 chips, those are for China, but the demand for chips in general has been amazing. He believes there's 10 people that want a chip for every chip available. Can you give us just a state of affairs when it comes to chip demand right now?
Yeah. Artificial intelligence, especially generative artificial intelligence, is driving much of the growth of AWS and Amazon Web Services. So we are the largest and most actively used cloud out there. And much of our growth right now is being driven by demand for AI chips. And I suspect that will continue for the next several years because people are training new models, they are building agents, they're trying to solve problems, and it's exciting times to be out there for the chip business and artificial intelligence in general.
Now, as you mentioned, AWS is the market leader when it comes to cloud infrastructure. I would imagine you'd like to hold on to that leadership.
NVIDIA planning to resume sales of a key AI chip to China. The company saying it's filing applications with the U.S. government to restart sales of its H20 graphics processing unit and expects to get the licenses soon. NVIDIA has been saying that it introduced a new model designed to meet Chinese tech regulations. Now, Chinese tech stocks popping on the back of this news. The development's coming days after NVIDIA's CEO Jensen Huang meeting with President Trump back in April. You might remember the White House imposed export restrictions that stopped NVIDIA from selling the H20 to China. The move at the time prompted the company to write off $5.5 billion in inventories. Huang is currently on his second visit to China in about 3 months. He's now expected to hold a media briefing tomorrow. But of course, this raises just about a million questions because the first one starts with what happened between April and now. If these chips really were a national security threat to us, why should we be giving them over now?
Well, nobody knows.
Is it part of a larger trade negotiation truce with rare metals and other things? And we need, we need the metals, they need the chips.
Or TikTok.
Or TikTok. Or tariffs.
We're all trying to find our way into what the right balance is between, helping AI advance and not having China lead the world.
Well, so that's the question. And by the way, if you let NVIDIA do this, maybe that then hurts like a Huawei temporarily or something like that. I mean, that's why there's so many sort of push-pulls here.
Yeah, there are, and I don't know, and I'm not willing to immediately say, wow, Jensen's friends with Trump, and this is a carve-out and whatever. Because I don't know what the right...
There's a huge view that's been not only put forth by Jensen, but by a lot of other people in the industry, that if America wants to be the leaders, you have to be able to sell around the world, that Huawei stepped in to fill that void. Look, there's the argument that this is great for America in terms of leading AI, but there's also the argument that if it was so great for America, China wouldn't want to let them do this unless they actually thought our chips were that much better. So.
Right, and so the question, our chips are that much better.
Yeah.
And so they wouldn't have access to these chips otherwise. And Huawei chips are not as good yet. The great mother of invention is forcing Huawei.
Sure, but you can't continue to be the world leader if you can't sell everywhere.
Well, except into China. I mean, if you think one day that Huawei would create chips that are that great, but right now...
And by the way, these are different chips. The H20 was originally created to try and make sure that it was not going to be able to do some of the terrible things militarily that others had pointed to. So that's the question.
The only thing that I don't understand about this is we've had so many people come on our air repeatedly and say, China's a national security threat to our country. These chips present a security threat. If we let them actually move ahead and be able to dominate or even get close to us in AI. And I think DeepSeek, if everybody remembers that moment earlier this year, frankly, at the end of January.
It was February, I think. End of January, beginning of February.
It was January because it happened during Davos.
We're obviously not going to stop all trade with China because they're a security threat. So then somewhere in between is some type of trade relationship we have with China.
I'm not going on the friend of Trump thing either. I'm just saying, what is the...
Who knows? I don't know.
What is the balance?
We probably shouldn't have any. Kyle Bass and others would probably say don't have any relationship.
Well,
others like
again brings you back to
your buddy Paul Tudor. No, who's the one that just loves China? One of those guys is Ray Dalio. He's open, give them everything they've ever asked for just to make a few more dollars there.
I mean, the real question I want to know is what are we going to get for this?
Right, and I think if you're talking security threats, it brings you back to TikTok, that Congress passed a ban on, and we are now months into extensions of saying, okay, we're going to continue to try and do a deal with them. But there have been people for years in Congress who have said that TikTok is a threat to national security because of the influence that it has, especially on younger people here.
A $5 trillion market cap and a continued rally in the NASDAQ.
It's not $5 trillion yet, it's right. It's $4 trillion.
No, and that's
what I said. What do we get for it? And I said that's what we get. Maybe we get a $5 trillion market cap and a NASDAQ that continues to climb.
All right, I hope you're all doing great today. The big news of the day is what NVIDIA announced overnight in a blog post titled NVIDIA CEO Jensen Huang Promotes AI in Washington, D.C. and China. In that blog post, NVIDIA announced the company is filing applications to sell the H20 GPU again in China. According to NVIDIA, the U.S. government has assured the company that licenses will be granted and NVIDIA hopes to start delivery soon. Additionally, Jensen Huang announced a new NVIDIA RTX Pro GPU for the Chinese market. This news is massive. Remember that in NVIDIA's latest earnings release, the company guided for Q2 revenue of $45 billion, but said they would have guided for an additional $8 billion in revenue if there were no restriction on H20 sales to China. This news brings tens of billions of dollars of revenue back in a play for NVIDIA. Additionally, you may remember NVIDIA had to write down $4.5 billion due to the H20 restriction. Now that $4.5 billion is back in play. This is massively positive news for NVIDIA. In the second half of last year, I said repeatedly that I would not be surprised to see NVIDIA's business double within the next 2 years. Of course, when I said that, I was not expecting there to be a total restriction on NVIDIA's China sales. And so after we got news of the export control earlier this year, I held back on talking about NVIDIA doubling within 2 years because China accounted for a large chunk of NVIDIA's revenue before the restriction, and we needed clarity on the export situation. But now that NVIDIA is being allowed back into the Chinese market, I feel very confident in saying that I think NVIDIA will likely reach that milestone of doubling within the 2 years, as I originally said in the second half of last year. And going beyond that, I honestly think we will see multiple trillions of dollars added to NVIDIA's market cap over the next 5 years. Also, I want you to notice something. Look at NVIDIA's last earnings report and the guidance they gave. If there were no restriction on China sales back then, we would have seen a reacceleration of revenue growth. And now that China is back in play, I think we are likely to see such an acceleration in the future, which is very encouraging. As I've said in many recent videos, regardless of what happens with the China situation, NVIDIA is still growing as demand is so strong, and I am bullish on the long-term future of NVIDIA either way. But make no mistake, China is a massive market and provides a lot of additional upside for NVIDIA. I'll try to post another video later today and keep you updated on NVIDIA news as we learn more. In the meantime, remember to stay calm in this market. Remember to maintain a long-term perspective and do not make any hasty or irrational decisions. With all of that being said, I hope you all have a great rest of the day, and I'm curious to hear your thoughts about NVIDIA in the comments below. Please leave a like on this video so more people will see it. And while you're down there, please consider subscribing. It's free, and you can always change your mind. Thanks for watching, and hopefully I'll see you in the next video.